here in St Lucia, we found ourselves a little cafe where Jeff Lemon is enjoying a banana ice cream alongside me, the palm trees moving gently in the breeze that comes in from the Caribbean Sea, and it is a very pleasant scene here. Jeff, it feels like we're moving into a different phase of the tournament, and certainly from England's perspective, reflecting on that victory over West Indies, I think they feel a more settled and set side.
It's certainly, as you said, the stage is moving quickly. We've got a Super 8's game in the middle of the day, a Super 8's game every evening. The teams are travelling sometimes on the same day that they've already played in order to get somewhere else for one day off, or one day of training, or one day of media, or whatever it is they have to do, and then playing again. So there is a frantic feel to this section of the Super 8s, but England will probably contradictorily be feeling a lot more calm than they were with all of that time to sit there and think during the pool stage about what might happen in this game and what you need to do against Oman and what you need to do against Namibia and what Scotland might do against Australia and all the rest of it. Now there's not much time to think. You've just got to crack on and play the next game, and the way they played against West Indies was thoroughly convincing across all the facets. They managed to restrain a powerful batting lineup, and they chased it down looking casual really in the end by the time they got to the back of that chase. So I think England would be feeling pretty confident about South Africa, who've won all their games so far but haven't won any of them entirely convincingly.
And if I head across the table, rather than the banana ice cream that Jeff is enjoying, it's the real fruit for Stephen Finn, because once an athlete, Finney, always an athlete.
No, I think the last 9 months of my life would fly in the face of that. It's just a token banana from me to try and pretend that I'm being healthy. But look, it's going to be a great couple of weeks, isn't it? I think we've seen the far better version of England yesterday than we have done in this tournament. It feels as though they're building in the right direction. I think they were helped by the fact they're playing on a very good surface here in St Lucia. It helps their powerful batting lineup to score the runs that are required. England will be feeling very happy today with their work, but they'll be wary of the fact that South Africa are a very dangerous team who are yet to completely click, but they're due to.
Sometimes when you've just finished watching a game, you can have one view and then maybe need 24 hours just to slightly see it more in the round. So how good were England in the win over West Indies? Yeah,
they were excellent. I think they did what they wanted to do at the toss. Clearly their preference with the depth of their batting lineup is to chase, especially on good surfaces. That may change as the wickets get more tired as this tournament keeps progressing. But yeah, winning the toss, bowling first, I think they did everything that was necessary for them to win. It was a curious performance by the West Indies, especially with the bat in hand. I thought they didn't show enough intent, but that was in the face of some good bowling and some good spin bowling in particular from Adil Rashid. And just at the right time, England kept pegging the West Indies back, and it felt like they were subpar, and England chased it as if it was.
It's interesting, that position that Rashid has in that team. He is entirely irreplaceable in that England squad. You look through the batting, the all-rounders, they've got these attacking players, they've got this sort of mentality that this is how England are supposed to play white ball cricket. They're supposed to be aggressive and all the rest of it. You can lose a player there and slot someone else in, and you don't lose too much overall. We've seen them switching around a little bit with who's coming in, who's going out, whether it's Sam Curran in or Liam Livingstone or Chris Jordan or Will Jacks. All of those parts are interchangeable. They've got the two express pace options with Wood and Archer. They've been playing both, but they don't have to play both. But nobody can do the job that Rashid does. He brings that control, he brings that menace as a leg spinner, which is different to what you get from a finger spinner. So, Moeen Ali can do a serviceable job chipping in with a few overs here or there. But Rashid is the one that teams are worried about attacking. They're wary. He's got tricks, he's got options, and he's managed to be very difficult to hit in this tournament so far.
Figures in that game against West Indies: 4 overs, 1 for 21. Another outstanding performance, and we say it time and again, but he just quietly bowls so brilliantly for him. He's so reliable.
Well, he's just so calm, isn't he? I think he's a very different bowler to the one he was 15 years ago when he was first starting to play for England in 2009. He was a young, raw leg spinner, and clearly as you get more experience and you get more confidence, and you grow into your role within the team. I think when Ian Morgan started picking him all the time in 2015, he was given a clearly defined role, he was trusted, he was backed, and whoever is picked to replace him, whether it's Rahan Ahmed, who looks the most likely at the moment, they're going to be needed, or they need to have the same amount of patience and confidence shown in them as there has been in Rashid, because the long game with that has clearly paid off to a point now where, as Jeff says, he's feared when other teams look at the lineup. They look at Adil Rashid and see him probably as the most threatening wicket taker, especially through those middle overs, and someone that they have to respect.
Well, we'll talk about England's batting in a moment, but a little more on the bowling attack. Really interesting quotes from Jofra Archer after the game last night. Let's have a little listen to what he was saying.
Just coming back into the team, I feel like I just want to give back, like it didn't really, I didn't think about it too badly in the first couple of overs. So, that's the time where you got to run around in the field, you got to try to make something happen even though you're not bowling, because, I think just giving back to the team makes it a bit easier for everybody else. So with bat, ball, fielding, I'm just always trying to help. So that's just the type of person I am.
Really interesting to hear that, because everyone focuses on his impact with the ball and what he can do, but there is a sense that his return to the side is creating something slightly bigger perhaps than just the 4 overs he's bowling.
You could look at this a couple of ways. You could be satirical about it and say that any player should be trying to help the team. That seems like a pretty logical, basic part of playing sport. But I suppose there's also for Archer the acknowledgement that he's had a lot of patience. He's been given a lot of time by management and by his teammates to be able to come back, to take the time that he's needed with all those injury breaks. And injuries are nobody's fault, and nobody should be blamed for them or held responsible for them unless they're doing incredibly reckless and silly things, which he hasn't been. But you would still feel guilty about it, I imagine. It would be a natural human impulse to see the other players on the contract list going out there and giving it their all. And in some ways, you'd feel a bit jealous of them getting to play when you don't. But you'd also probably feel like you were letting them down by not being available to come in and help, especially when the team is struggling. So yeah, it's interesting to see a little bit of that internal struggle, I think, laid bare in his comments there.
Fiddy, you've, as a fast bowler, had injuries time off the field, but perhaps not quite the extent Jofra Archer has had. I mean, can you recognise how he feels?
Yeah, I found my injuries pretty frustrating. I missed a lot of big games and big series when I was set to play and try and cement a place in any of the 3 formatted teams, and ended up missing out on those opportunities. So yeah, I think the thing that's been impressive is that he hasn't snatched at his opportunity when he's come back in. I always found when I came back from injuries like that you got your opportunity and you tried extra hard, which then makes you tense up. He seems to have a really good temperament even when he's coming in under that bit of added internal pressure, even though there won't be people in the team putting pressure on him. It's all internal and all within your own head. So you need to be supported when you're dealing with those kinds of emotions. It seems as though he has been, and he's dealt with everything that's been thrown at him so far in this tournament with his reintroduction back into the team really well, and he's going to have a crucial role to make sure that England do progress, because his death bowling and his ability to be unpredictable at any stage of the innings is something that I see as paramount to England making those latter stages.
And it was that over to Nicholas Pooran, kept beating the outside edge. Pooran didn't look confident or comfortable. Then eventually, final ball of the over, does get that little nick. And it felt that almost psychologically for West Indies, felt like a real body blow.
Well, it's the ability to execute a plan. You can have all the best intentions of delivering a plan, but you have to execute it. And when you're under pressure at a stage in the innings where Pooran could have gone bananas at the end there, he bowled it full, he bowled it wide with pace on, making Pooran hit to his weaker spot, which is square and with a straight bat on the offside. Pooran kept missing it, and rather than second guessing himself, Jofra Archer trusted that the research that he had done and the plan that they'd set was going to work. And the last delivery, he takes the outside edge off almost the identical ball that he'd bowled every delivery previously in that over. And it's that temperament that England love about Jofra Archer. It's not just the pace, it's the temperament under pressure. Think World Cup World Cup 2019 final. Think big Ashes games. He's delivered when he's had the ball in his hand, and again, it's something that's going to be really important to England going further in this tournament.
What about the batting then? Phil Salt, Jeff, was outstanding, and that partnership of 97 between he and Johnny Bairstow won England the game, and it was a real statement innings that it felt with the bat.
It's an interesting one, the way that it ebbed and flowed. So Phil Salt comes out and he's taken the task of going really, really hard at the bowling earlier, which means that Jos Buttler doesn't have to be as aggressive off the top, which he used to be the one who would always be more of the aggressor. Now Buttler can sit back a little bit. He can let Salt do the early shock and awe stuff, and then after Buttler gets out, Phil Salt sort of chills out for a bit. He goes down a couple of gears because Johnny Bairstow's come in fifth, and so he lets that happen. He lets Bairstow make the running there for a while, to the point that the game's basically over, and Salt has just had to stick around and provide some stability through the middle, and then he's able to end it with a flourish with his 30 runs off the over from Romario Shepherd. But that wasn't the match-winning over, because at that point the match was not entirely won, but probably the next best thing. It was very much England's game from there. So it was an innings of three parts, and for me, in a lot of ways, Phil Salt's the most impressive current performer in that side. He plays without any fear, and that helped create an environment that let Bairstow come in and do what he did.
What about South Africa, Finney? Because they're a team that's full of talent, full of power, and one of the favourites of the tournament.
Yeah, they were one of my favourites coming into the tournament. You just look at their roster of players that they have in their 15 and you feel as though they have every base covered, much like England do as well. They've got the wrist spinner, they've got finger spinners, they've got the pace, they've got the death bowling of Rabada, they've got the solid top order, and then they have that power and experience through the middle order. So you look at all the players that they have and you think that they're going to be contenders. They've not hit their straps yet this tournament, but they've played on stoppy, slow surfaces which don't actually suit those types of teams. We saw England struggle on those types of pitches in Barbados and Antigua in those first couple of games of the tournament. But here, on an absolute belter in St Lucia, we've got a fresh wicket for the game between these two teams, and I think that means it's right in the middle of the square as well, which usually is the groundsman's best wicket, and he's saved that for this game. So I anticipate a high scoring affair. It's going to be a match of two heavyweights. It's going to be fascinating to see who comes out on top.
You mentioned Kagiso Rabada. I'd never heard the story about the tweet. Go on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll have to dig back. I'm sure someone can find the tweet, but I think a long, long time ago when Kagiso Rabada was maybe 12, 13 years old, he sent me a tweet saying, "Can I get a retweet? You're one of my favourite bowlers." I didn't see the tweet, so I didn't retweet it. And then it resurfaced about 4 years ago. And I retweeted it then. I said, "Oh, you're one of my favourite bowlers now." The compliments returned, and then he didn't reply to me. So I'm hoping not to bump into him at any stage in the next couple of weeks.
He's snubbed. He remembers the snub. I was overlooked, just a little kid with a heart full of dreams, and you cruelly shut him down. Oh well, this is the way things go on the internet.
What do you make of this South Africa side? Because they've got to this point not necessarily hitting their straps.
Well, they did. They looked a lot better with the bat against USA. So that's one thing, is that Quinton de Kock was finally able to get some runs. He's probably been the biggest concern for South Africa with the bat. They were able to express themselves a bit there and muscle their way up to a big score, and perhaps weren't expecting the USA to run it as close as they did. But halfway through that chase, the USA were gone, and then Andres House managed to put a partnership together with Harmeet Singh that was very aggressive, which got him a bit. It wasn't quite as close as it looked, put it that way. So the US had a chance to absolutely batter the last couple of overs and win the game, but that was always likely to be difficult against Rabada and Nortje. So it was a good enough win, but you'd want to see him against the other couple of sides in their Super 8s group.
Have you found it, Finney?
I found the tweet. It's Kagiso Rabada on the 13th of March 2013, so we'd have been playing in New Zealand at the time, and it says, "At Finney Steve, a very big fan of yours, retweet ? Smiley face."
Did you do anything?
Not then, no, but subsequently I did 10 years later, but he didn't reply, funnily enough.
Better late than never. I mean, he's part of a phenomenal attack, isn't he? And you look at the variation they've got: Nortje, Rabada, Maharaj as well. There's a lot of options.
Maharaj played an important role in that USA chase, they've got Shamsi with the wrist spin, and left arm wrist spin can be one of the hardest things for players to decode. We've seen how successful Noor Ahmad has been for Afghanistan bowling, that variety. So it's not just about the quicks, it's about what they've got in covering every base, and they've got Marco Jansen in there as well, who's 7'8" and swinging the ball left arm and can bat. Like it's a powerful looking side, but this has always been South Africa's issue. They've never sent a bad side to a World Cup, I don't think. Like, they've always had good teams. They've always had great teams on paper, and they've always had shocking teams in semi-finals, and that's the kind of thing that they need to get over.
Perhaps starting the tournament a little slowly and finding their way might work out for them. How will England approach this in any way differently to the game against West Indies, Vinny?
They won't, I don't think. I think they'll still want to do the same. They'll still want to bowl first and try and restrict South Africa, and then chase down whatever South Africa set them in the second innings. It suits the way that they play on a very good surface, and it's just about the mentality, to be honest. If they retain that aggressive mentality with both the bat and the ball and the confidence as well, I think they'd have been going into those two games against Oman and Namibia short on confidence. They seem to me, from the way that they've played and the manner in which they've won the games since, to have turned the corner with their confidence, and that plays a huge part as you progress through a tournament.
It's all about finding your feet at the right time, finding that momentum, even if you have a shaky start. England's footballers take note.
Find your feet, find your hands, as per Steve Smith. I suppose if you're playing football, find your headers. I don't know. Finney does have this theory that you have to be dog ordinary through the first half of the tournament and just manage to stay alive if you're going to win it, which isn't always the case. Australia 2007 did all right, just being better than everybody, but I suppose they were better than everybody at the time. But yeah, most teams that have won World Cups have had their moments where it could have gone the other way, so there might be something to it.